Sound the alarms. We had a big night of pitching regression. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Thursday, May 30th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and some of the biggest names who got knocked around here on Wednesday night. Shōta Imanaga at the Brewers. He allowed 7 earned runs over 4 1/3 innings. That included 2 home runs. Jared Jones, he was at the Tigers, 4 1/3 innings, 7 runs, 5 of those earned. Only had 4 whiffs on 83 pitches. And Cutter Crawford has turned in 2 rough outings in a row. He was at the Orioles where he allowed 5 runs over 6 innings. Scott, anything actually worrisome with this trio, Cutter Crawford, Jared Jones, and Shōta Imanaga?
Well, let's leave Jared Jones aside for a second. Let's talk about Shōta Imanaga, Cutter Crawford, and I'm going to add another one in here, Bailey Ober, who also had a bad start. And what those three had in common, a couple things they have in common, actually. They're fly ball pitchers who were not giving up many home runs early on, as many home runs as you'd expect, because not as many home runs were being hit across the league. But we're getting into the summer months now. We expect the home run frequency to increase, and these all seem like pitchers, again, Imanaga, Cutter Crawford, and Bailey Ober, who are going to suffer more because of that, because they're fly ball pitchers. So Imanaga had allowed only 3 home runs all year. He allowed 2 home runs in this start. Cutter Crawford, he's allowed 5 home runs all year, but 3 have come in his last 4 starts, and that's when he's seen his ERA climb. Bailey Ober's been allowing home runs over all along, but not as many as you expect, and he allowed 3 in this start in the start this time. And basically, anytime Bailey Ober allows a single home run, you combine all those starts, it's an ERA over 9. So it's I guess reason for concern for all 3 of those pitchers moving forward to varying degrees. Imanaga, I think, is such a good strikeout pitcher that it's not like it's going to cause his fantasy value to collapse. I still have him as a top 15 pitcher, but there are going to be starts like this where the home runs get the better of him, and he's not going to be as automatic as he's been. I'm less sure about how Cutter Crawford and Bailey Ober are going to do moving forward. Ober has the added problem of he just doesn't pitch that deep into games. And I think given this pitching-rich environment, you got the home run vulnerability and the lack of volume, and he's not a big strikeout guy either, right? I think Bailey Ober is taking the biggest tumble in my rankings after this start. Crawford, I'm kind of in between on him. I think in the long run he'll probably be a fine fantasy option, but he'll be less than he appeared to be for the first couple months of the season. Okay, so those are those 3. Jared Jones, real quick, has looked a little more human lately. This was his first really bad start, and velocity was down on his fastball and slider by more than 1 mile per hour. So that's a notable decrease. It may just be a blip. And if he comes back out next time throwing normal velocities, nothing to worry about with Jared Jones. But that is something we need to watch out for, because the velocity was definitely down in this start. It's a very hard thrower. First year in the league. Workload is going to be an issue at some point. Maybe this is the start of that, but inconclusive at this point.
Last point that I will add on Bailey Ober is the Royals have just absolutely clobbered him in 2 starts this season, a 19.89 ERA and a 3 whip, 6 home runs allowed. In all of his 9 other starts, Bailey Ober had a 3.02 ERA, .87 whip, 4 home runs allowed in 9 starts versus 6 home runs allowed in 2 against the Royals. So whatever he's doing, the Royals clearly have him squared up, figured out. And I would say whenever he's facing them, you probably just want to stay away from Bailey Ober against the Royals. Last name I'll mention here, Scott, Kyle Harrison has also taken a step back. Last 4 starts, a 6.30 ERA and a 1.80 whip. Some of the most added pitchers on CBS right now are Ben Brown, Matt Waldron, Tyler McGill. Would you be okay dropping Kyle Harrison for any of those?
I'd be okay dropping Kyle Harrison for just about anybody. I'm not especially enthusiastic about Hunter Brown, let's say, but I have no optimism really for Harrison. He was succeeding in spite of himself before. His fastball is really his only good pitch, and it's not so good of a pitch that he can get away with throwing only fastballs. And the strikeouts weren't looking good. It's not like he's great with control. I see no redeeming qualities in Kyle Harrison except for the fact that he was a top prospect. Yeah, he's not showing evidence of that now.
All right, for more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Odyssey app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.